is just so big, though.
Hello, and welcome to 97.9 Unity Radio, the best MMA show in the 508. Husky Talk, the MMA report. I am here as always with my co-host and cohort, and all he does is train, teach class, and beat ass. And that is Tyler the Marauder King himself of Crown Sports Entertainment, who also has a big weekend.
Steven.
Hello, Tyler.
Steve.
Yeah.
Hello, Steven. Crown Sports and Entertainment.
Oh, it's Crown Sports and Entertainment. I apologize. Crown Sports
Right.
and Entertainment, because you
Thank
do
you.
provide quite a bit of entertainment for all of us.
That's fair.
And
That's fair.
and joining us for the first time on our MMA show, a huge fan of Tyler King, Mr. David Schuman, fresh off of practice and receiving some nice gifts from the parents.
I'm gonna try. I'm trying to stay really calm because I'm like hungry. I hope you don't get me fired up, Steve. Because
Well, I mean, do you got a protein bar or something? Can you
nah,
grab?
dude. I wish
You
I
haven't
did.
eaten all day.
No, I've eaten. I just haven't eaten enough.
Yeah, I know, because
I just came from sparring. So
you
yeah.
consume a lot of calories. I know that you consume a lot of calories to keep that look that
I
you
just
have.
sweat, and sweat excessively. It's rough.
So the first thing I did want to talk about before getting to Conor McGregor, Tyler, Donald the Cowboy Cerrone, coming
Yes,
out
cowboy.
of retirement to seek a landmark 50 combined fights in the UFC and WEC.
Yeah.
The
Long
41-year-old
story
champ.
short, give you a little history lesson. Um,
Yeah.
both WEC and UFC were owned by Zuffa, Zuffa LLC, which was the company
Oh.
that the Ferreira brothers of the Station Casino fortune used to buy the UFC originally. That was it. That was
Okay.
so Zuffa owned WEC and the UFC. So and eventually the UFC just absorbed the WEC. So it's
How
champions out
long?
of how long ago was that?
Yeah, I was just curious how long Zuffa or
2010 to
WEC's been out.
2013,
Okay.
I
Okay.
think, or no, probably more like 2006. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fighting out of Albuquerque, Cerrone is one of the most popular fighters in UFC history, and
Hmm.
he's tied second all time in wins with 23 and third in total appearances with
Yeah.
38.
Yeah.
So I mean, the last
Listen, he's the all-time great. He's the fighter's fighter.
yeah,
This is a
the last
very nuanced story, in my opinion.
well, the last fight he had against John Jones, and
Donald
I remember
Cerrone. All right.
he got
Listen to me, Steve.
destroyed.
No, Steve. Listen to me. Donald Cerrone fights at 155. John
Okay,
Jones fights at
okay.
205 and heavyweight.
I just remember
I
I
it
watched his last
escapes
fight
me. It escapes me who Cerrone's last fight was, but I believe no,
because it was
it was
it
Connor.
was a main.
No.
Oh,
He
it
fought.
was
No, he fought
McGregor.
Connor. Then he fought like
That's
two or
right.
three more, I think. Then he retired.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah.
I just remember the McGregor fight because McGregor had that long layoff and then he came back and he beat him up pretty good.
Yeah.
Dave, you're familiar, or being familiar with the Cowboy
All right.
Donald Cerrone, very popular. At age 41, he wants to come back
My God.
and he wants to get the 50 wins. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, age always wins, but he has 2 fights left apparently on his contract. He just has to get in the testing pool, and I guess they're going to let him do it if he passes everything.
So, what are my thoughts on what?
Donald Cerrone coming back, at age 41 because he wants to get to 50 fights.
Well, I mean, grab that money, man. If you're gonna pay you, fucking fight and keep fighting, get that 50th win.
All right.
Yeah.
Listen, Steve, I'll step in here. So I'll kind of give you all a take on this, and you're all kind of missing.
He's got a lot of losses, Cerrone.
Well, because he always makes
he's got a lot more wins. But listen to me, right? All right. No, Cerrone's never picked a fight in his life. Cerrone's just he's your favorite fighter's favorite fighter. He's that guy. He has always taken fights and turned stuff that exactly. So what's he been doing since he retired? Which honestly I thought it was a sincere retirement, but since then he's been shooting movies on TRT and
that's true.
And not taking damage.
True.
For 2 years. So
I hear you.
He has a savant's mind for this game. He's an all-time great. And now that he's gotten to recharge for how long has it been? Year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, you're right. He feels better. I get what you're saying.
Big?
Well, yeah, I completely understand that.
I mean,
George Foreman when he came back.
Thank you. But no, that's a real thing, though. You think George wasn't
Big George?
I mean, George. Here's the thing, though. George was just such a effing freak.
He was a freak. Yeah, he was.
Jesus Christ! Just his ability to both take a punch and give a punch. Holy ass, dude. But yeah. So I think we're gonna see a rejuvenated Cerrone. And the other thing is,
wow. Okay.
Let's see if they. So Rafael dos Anjos, who fought 55 forever, he I believe he's fighting Jeff Neal at the next at UFC 3. Is it 310 that's next?
310? 309, I believe.
Okay, so if it's 309, so let's say Rafael dos Anjos wins, that'd be an appropriate fight for Cerrone, right? Similar age, similar experience.
Very much, yes.
So
what weight is he?
I do hear all the criticism, but at the end of the day, he's gonna be feeling a lot better. If they give an appropriate fight like that, I think we're gonna see something special.
Okay, I agree with you. I apologize, Tyler.
Thank you, Steve.
I may have been
a controversial guy, Cerrone.
I was wrong. UFC 308 is coming up, and 309 is in November. And Michael Chandler is booked for his rematch with Charles Oliveira on UFC.
Charles Oliveira, Steve.
Oliveira. Sorry, I can't pronounce names, Tyler. I'm sorry.
Jesus.
I'm sorry.
When you're when you can't do it, you know what? Especially if I know the fight card.
I'll just tell you. I'll just tell you. Okay.
Just ask me.
So this was new. McGregor had come out and basically said he wants to fight Michael Chandler for sure. He's going to make it happen. He said that we've had our beef. It's not settled. He has a match scheduled. I would like to fight before he's recovered. There's a few names in line at the minute. There's a few names being discussed. So for 2025, McGregor is still planning to fight Chandler. However,
no, he's not. I mean, he is, but Steve, you're a little behind in the Conor McGregor situation.
He wants Nate Diaz.
Right now, no, Steve, stop.
I'm just telling you what the news says.
Right now, the prevailing belief is, and there's been a lot of documentation of it. The UFC right now, it looks like it's going to be Dan Hooker versus Conor. That's the fight.
Dan Hooker, really?
Yeah, Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker was at the last bare knuckle fight championship where Conor was, and apparently they talked about it. And they both kind of said they want to do it, and it's been all over the MMA media, but most likely Conor will be fighting Hooker. And it's a much better fight for Conor. And then after he beats Hooker, which I fully believe he'll be Hooker, then I think Chandler fight has a chance of happening. But I think the issue is going to be I don't think Michael Chandler is going to get past Charles Oliveira.
You did say that. You have said that many times. But
Yeah.
according to your friend Brett Okamoto, um, the Irishman has unfinished business with two rivals that he wants to settle before he fights Michael Chandler, and that is Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier. And Nate Diaz has also guaranteed that there will be a trilogy bout. Do you
I'm
have
sorry
an
about the
opinion?
face I'm making. Those.
Do you have an opinion about that? I knew he was going to get
Um,
fired up about this.
who's fired up? Jesus, Steve.
I know you disagree with the trilogy fight with Nate Diaz,
No.
but
I don't disagree with the trilogy fight with Nate Diaz
oh, you
at
don't?
all.
Okay,
Like, I think all those fights need to happen. I
okay.
think they probably.
The reality of it,
I think they probably will. I think most likely it's probably going to be Connor's going to fight Hooker. That'll be his warm up fight, and
right?
then you're kind of looking at Chandler's on the outside looking in. After that, I think if Dustin's ready, Dustin will be next. And if
Yeah,
Connor somehow gets past Dustin, then they'll do the Nate fight. And
right.
then Connor will probably say, "Fuck all you guys." Sorry. F all
Thank
you
you.
guys. F all you guys. I'm gonna retire, and that's that. But
Uh,
honestly, what do we care about Chandler fight? It's not compelling.
yeah, I
And
know, I know.
and
At
with
this
that,
point,
no. And Steve, with that being said, I really don't think Chandler's gonna get past Charles Oliveira.
you
He's too
have said
skilled.
that. Yes,
Charles
you have
Oliveira's
said
too
that.
skilled. He's just too skilled. And he's beaten him before. And he has more experience now. And since
I
the
think
first
Chandler's
fight,
looking past
and
them.
and since the first fight, he's held and defended the title.
No, I agree. I agree with you, and I think
It's like
Chandler's
Chandler,
looking
shut up.
past it. In my opinion,
I
he's
think
looking
it's good.
past
I
them.
think it's a good idea for him to do that. He he got paid pretty well, got a lot of exposure. Like he got his star to rise a little bit off just doing the show with Conor McGregor. So
He did. Yes.
yeah. So I mean,
Uh,
and like if he doesn't win, he's probably gonna get paid pretty well for the Oliveira fight. Like he's probably gonna get what he was gonna get versus Conor to fight Oliveira. So,
right.
but he's gonna
Um,
lose. He's gonna lose them.
Dave, I don't know how how familiar you are with Conor McGregor and the story. You know, he was supposed to fight Michael Chandler in the summer. The broken toe prevented it. And, you know, Chandler really wanted it, but, you know, the wait has been so long. So he took another fight. And obviously, the payday when you fight McGregor is usually
Huge.
the highest you're going to get. So McGregor has stated, and Tyler has just stated, that McGregor may be very busy in 2025 fighting Dan Hooker, and he could also be fighting Nate Diaz. I don't know if you saw any of the Nate Diaz fights. They were unbelievable. They're 1-1, so they want a trilogy matchup. And then Poirier, I believe, it would also be a trilogy matchup, Tyler.
Yes, no, it'd be a quadrilogy. Actually,
It would be the 4-1 but McGregor doesn't count the second one because he got hurt. So, what
that
are
was
your
the third one, Steve. That was
the
the third
third
one.
one? Yeah, when he got hurt, he doesn't count that one. So, Dave, what do you think about that? McGregor calling guys out, kind of playing his own schedule. Now he's got the money to do whatever he wants, and UFC kind of has to take it up the ass with him because
Thank
he's the
God,
biggest draw.
but they've been putting up the fighters forever. So
No, they have,
good,
they have,
good,
but
good.
I'd like to get Dave
Well, he's the
give
biggest
Dave a chance to
draw. I
talk.
mean, listen, it's when someone's as big a draw as Conor McGregor, and who makes them will make them as much money as Conor McGregor does. He has a little bit of power in dictating who and what he wants to fight. You know,
Yeah,
so he should, in my opinion. And if for the UFC, it's one of those things that like UFC built its organization on the backs of fighters in the beginning who really had no names and they didn't have to pay that much to in the beginning.
Correct.
And now a lot of them have become stars,
Well,
and they've leveraged the UFC brand to do that, and so good for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have been critical of UFC because some of the pay-per-views, they get paid by ESPN regardless of the
Right.
buys of the pay-per-views or whatever. They have a
Yeah.
deal with ESPN. So I think they have put on some poor pay-per-view cards to save money because they sell out regardless and they draw regardless.
Steve, I'll tell
Okay.
you, even before the ESPN deal, this was a problem.
Oh, it was.
Yeah, like even before the ESPN deal, this was a problem.
The cards, you mean
Thing
the
is,
cards weren't as good? The cards weren't as good?
like fans got spoiled for a while with like Chuck Liddell era, and like they UFC Off the Ultimate Fighter had like a pretty steady stream of stars, and they
Yeah.
kept increasing their content. So now we get things like the Fight Night, but like
Yeah.
that's just because ESPN needs the content too. You got to think about that.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
They do.
So,
I think it.
but like
and-
back in the day, like before the ESPN deal with pay per views, like they would put on some lackluster cards, but I mean, they would call. The thing is, like you had the Liddell era, then Anderson Silva was like wasn't a great pay per view star. He would still sound like
Georges St. Pierre.
at least five. Then you had George St. Pierre, and then George St. Pierre was also like that was a different thing because he was like for the most part always do at least 1 million buys. Like that's
Yes.
just
Yep.
absurd money, dude.
Yeah.
Always.
And they gave that up.
Yeah, but like
$1
here's the
billion
thing though.
ESPN deal.
Like George is so rich because he was one of the first real pay per view stars, and he obviously just fought so many times, defended the belt so many times, and got just millions.
There was nothing for him to
millions of
prove.
dollars.
Yeah.
Not even nothing to prove. Like the big thing was he was one of the first guys to get paid, and like
Yeah.
with that being said, the UFC was taking all the financial risks, so that's why they've sold it and kind of like hedged their bets with these ESPN cards. Like it was a
very
problem
true.
back then, but like the point I'm making is, and I was a little long-winded. I'm sorry, but
Well, you're always long-winded. So it's okay.
well, thank you. 1.3 million pay-per-view buys, and let's say 500,000. Like there's a big difference on the top end as far as like how much money you're making, but like a lot of these celebrity boxing and like all like every different pay-per-view effing thing, like they would kill for 600,000 buys, 500,000 buys. So that
They
kind
would.
of
You're
gives you
right.
an idea of the scale of this. So
You're right.
like they're just locked into the ESPN now, so the money's just there. So we're just gonna get content now. It's just not gonna be as
And the contract I believe is up in another year or two, so it's going to be interesting to see.
No, it's gonna be another open bid actually.
It's going to be interesting to see the negotiation if they stay with ESPN or if someone else comes in and takes them on. Dave, the other thing I wanted to bring up, the UFC has a current lawsuit going with former fighters. And there was a settlement that was reached back in August. It was for, I think, $335 million. And it was to back pay fighters from 2016, 2012 through a certain era. And
Steve, by the way, that was just like the era I was talking about too.
Yes. Yep. And the judge rejected it because he didn't think it was enough money. He felt for the fighters because he was comparing the UFC to other pro sports organizations like Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, where the revenue split between the players and the league is 50-50. UFC pays its fighters kind of the lowest amount of revenue out of any pro sports company. I don't even think it's 20%. It's like 19 or 18% of the total revenue. So that's why the judge rejected the settlement. They came back. UFC increased the settlement, I think, to 365. They went to, and the fighters want it approved because this lawsuit has gone on for 10 plus years. The lawyers took it on a contingency, so they haven't been paid a dime, and the fighters need the money now. You know, they don't want to wait. They don't want it to go to trial, and I don't think the UFC wants it to go to trial either.
Steve, let me present you with something here.
Can Dave talk or no?
Dave, say your word. Dave, talk.
I just wanted to get Dave's thoughts on it.
So individual sports are different than team sports as far as from a unionization. There's a big difference. Yeah. So Tyler would know maybe more of the breakdowns of everything from that standpoint, but I would not equate what like NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, or what am I missing? That's the other NBA. Their collective bargaining, which are all going to have, they're going to be different, but they're going to have some similarities as far as breakdowns. You know, one might get a little more than the other, but they're going to have some similarities as far as how that's structured. Versus, UFC is going to be obviously a lot more like boxing, a lot more like tennis, or golf. Like they're individual sports. So the breakdown of their now UFC is probably as an organization a lot more like the PGA is in golf. You know what I mean? Or USTA is in tennis in the sense that they are powerful organizations that have a large amount of control of what their athletes.
And that's the crux of the argument.
Dave, that's a very good point.
The crux of the argument was the UFC was a monopoly. Yeah. Go ahead, Tyler.
You, Dave.
Yeah.
How much is a low-level PGA pro getting paid? Depends on where you finish.
Not much, right? Yeah, I think not. I don't think outside of the top, if you look, I would say tennis is probably even harder than.
All right, let me ask you this, Dave. Do you think the low-level PGA pro gets paid more than $10,000 or $20,000 at a tournament?
Yes, but I'll put it like this: they have to make cuts in each tournament. So if you're a low-level guy, you could potentially get zero because you don't make the cut. Cut. So there's that's what I'm saying. There's nuances in each that are different. Certainly. I mean, listen, UFC, you're getting your head beat in. That's a big difference than a guy going out and playing golf. But the one thing that is UFC has, I guess, right, because there are other leagues, but UFC is the dominant one.
They bought out their competition. Yeah.
Like in golf, you have the PGA, but now there's that Live organization.
Yeah, in Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
That has squeezed the PGA because they're giving the players more.
A ton,
now, so I think until an organization comes along in MMA that challenges the UFC from a financial standpoint, where they're willing to give the players more, like Liv did in golf, the PGA.
The thing is, Liv has deep pockets, but
deeper pockets.
No
yes,
because of the
thing is, UFC's exposure right now is so huge. No one's gonna come along and can.
Well, PGA had huge exposure in golf. And Liv spent more. They outspent them. That's basically what they did. You have to outspend. I mean, I guess you need the Saudis to come in and throw billions of dollars around. That's probably what it was.
Well, I mean, that's what they're doing for the PFL. So
right, okay,
maybe something will happen.
Tyler, I don't know if you saw this or not, but there was an article on ESPN about PFL that they're Don Davis, I guess, is one of the owners. And
Yes.
because of the global branding and the global events that they've been doing, and I posted this as a credit to Jim Tucker, who's a Yukon guy. The value of PFL right now is at $1 billion. So that is huge for them that
Yeah.
they've gotten that increase. So I think that will definitely make a difference. And that's why, like you have said, there's competition, and we've seen some fighters
Well,
jump.
actually, I did not know that, Steve. So that
Oh,
things like that can potentially get the PFL over the hump because they're also on ESPN.
yep.
Their big thing now is they need to make some stars and go from
And
that
they have a
standpoint.
different system, which I think is cool. I like the seasonal format.
The thing
I
is,
do.
the good thing about that is that if guys go out and have amazing performances, they can make their star rise very quickly.
Yes. Yes. And we've seen that happen. We've seen
No,
that
and we
happen.
have, and that's that whole star building element that PFL has kind of brought to the fold now.
No, they have. They have. And they've made several stars. And I like the style of the PFL,
Well, I mean,
just because it just seems faster paced, and it seems like there's more of a sense of urgency, where UFC sometimes seems like it's going at a slower pace, and the fighters are feeling each other out, whether it's 3 rounds or 5 rounds. You don't see the same type of action that you do in PFL. Would you agree with that?
to a degree,
Yeah.
in the tournament, yes, but
They don't do a ton of pay-per-views.
that level of fight would be UFC has a little more of a shallower roster, so and they're dangling a big carrot to these guys who in the UFC at most be making 50 and 50 per fight. So that's just what I'm talking about as far as
Oh, right,
talent
right, right.
level. Get me?
Yes,
So
yes.
or maybe excuse me, not even talent level, just status level as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. 100%.
I think
Go ahead, Dave.
one of the things that you brought up was a good point about the UFC, that when because you have to put out so much content now, and fighting content comes from obviously from guys fighting, that's what people want to see, and the pressure to put out so much content, it waters down. I think
Good
it
point.
begins
Yes.
to water down and the talent, and when you're having fights all the time, it reminds me because I don't watch as much obviously UFC as you do, but it reminds me of when, this is a long time ago. This might even been when I was a kid. I can't remember if this is when I was in my 20s or when I was a teenager, but ESPN had Top Rank Boxing. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
I used to love Fight Night. Yep.
Yeah, so it was great, right? But then they started filling it with no names.
Yes,
I don't know if you remember that.
They did, yes.
And that was
Well,
the
that's
beginning.
that's always been a boxing thing, but yeah.
Right. And boxing, boxing is not as, doesn't obviously it used to be the king, but of the fight stuff, but UFC has so much more bankable names than boxing does. But when Top Rank did that, because boxing was kind of really popular at that time, it's the late 80s, early 90s. You had Tyson.
Yeah.
You had all those guys, and you came off the the Sugar Ray Leonards and all them, that time period.
Yep.
Marvin Hagler. And so I'm much more of obviously a boxing guy. I know boxing really well, but it's a thing where they started to water down the product because they were trying to get the next star, and it just never panned out that way. Because the content like people kind of lost a little bit of interest in the content. So I think it's important. Like I think that's why Conor McGregor is so important because
No, good point. Good point.
you need that wow content if you're just putting out a lot of like yeah. I'm sorry.
Well, like, no, Dave. That was such a. Let me see. That was such like that was actually a tremendous point. But I think the one thing the UFC has done that boxing didn't was they kind of saw the writing on the wall with some of their methods and would like change them. One example I'll give you: the one thing that like really saved the UFC and like brought it back into public consciousness was the Ultimate Fighter. Ultimate Fighter won Stephen Martin versus Forrest Griffin. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
So the Ultimate Fighter started getting stale. Like when I was on the Ultimate Fighter, it was like starting to hit that point where it's getting really stale.
Right.
So what the UFC do? Like good point you made about Top Rank Boxing on ESPN Tuesday Night Fights. ESPN boxing is kind of like they didn't deviate from that formula. The UFC was like, okay, Ultimate Fighter is just not doing what it used to do. What are we talking about right now? Where are all these like names like Sean O'Malley? Where did that come from? Dana White's Contender Series. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep, Matt Hamill.
Let's just break. Oh, I'm not even talking about Matt.
I'm just stoking.
No, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Stoking up the fire. That's all.
But point I was making is the UFC. Okay, this formula isn't really working anymore. Let's try this. Bring a couple contenders in front of the bigwigs. Let's see if they can make an impression, and offer them a contract off that. Like that. What do we get from that? Guys like Sean O'Malley, who's one of the biggest stars in the sport right now. He's he has lost. He's still super marketable, but he kind of picked the slack for a lot. Like they weren't. They were billing stars. There were guys like a lot of great guys in the top 5 that everyone loved. But this is like the first guy that everyone freaking loved. It was knocking everyone out at one of those lower weight classes they were really trying to establish as well. Like he's the biggest star ever at 135. Not even a question.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And the other issue was a lot of the UFC's top fighters were not fighting, which brings me to Tyler's favorite guy, Francis Ngannou.
What do you mean, my favorite guy?
Well, you like Francis Ngannou.
I love Francis. Are you kidding?
Yeah, I know you do. But the pundits and experts believe that Francis Ngannou taking apparently it's been now a 3-year layoff from MMA is going to hurt him tremendously in the long run. And this battle that he's going to have on the pay-per-view against say his name, Tyler, so I don't screw it up. Ferreira.
You said the last name right. Ferreira.
Yeah, he's the current heavyweight champion. They're fighting in Saudi Arabia, but they're saying that Francis left. He was
reigning playoff. Okay.
Well, he was the reigning heavyweight champion.
Stop for a second. What did Francis do?
He fought the best.
He had boxing matches versus the best boxers in the world. Not like and one of the all-time greats,
Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua.
Tyson Fury. He went to a split decision with Tyson effing Fury.
Yeah,
and then,
I agree with you.
And AJ was just a bad matchup for him, to be honest.
Right. But they're saying that Ferreira.
Oh, cool. Because you think Ferreira, he's a good striker, but he's a giant. But Francis just fought the giant with the best hands in the world. Shut up. Like, oh, Francis hasn't fought MMA in a year and a half. Oh, it's good.
Tyler, I'm not saying this. This is Brett. This
I
is your
know.
buddy
I
Brett.
know. Well, Brett. Well, what do you say that about? Saying it to you, Steve. I'm saying it to Brett. Like,
Okay.
it's a kind of a BS take, bro. Like,
Well,
come on.
can I tell you his entire take?
Sure.
His entire take is that during Ngannou's boxing venture, Ferreira went on a dominant run in the PFL. He's been undefeated in the cage since
Okay, cool.
2023, 4 wins and 1
Remember
no
what I
contest.
just said about talent levels?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Francis went from fighting the very best MMA fighters in the world, beating them all,
Correct.
going over the best boxers in the world,
Hmm.
going
And
against the
competing.
biggest, best one, arguably winning for losing against probably number, in my opinion, between 3 and 6 in the world. So,
Are you talking
pump
about
your
Joshua?
brakes. Brett, yes, Brett,
Okay.
pump your brakes. Brett, pump your brakes.
We'll
Pump
get
your
Brett on the
brakes.
show. I would love to see
I
you
mean,
get.
I would love that too, but pump your brakes, Brett. Pump them.
As long as you don't interrupt him, you can talk to him. We'll get Brett on the show.
I'm sure we will, Steve.
It's funny.
So the big show, and this is great for PFL. It's their first pay-per-view in quite a long time. They still have not announced when the finals will be from the summer season to declare the champions. But we're going to go through the main card and get some of the predictions from our expert analyst, Mr. Tyler King. And we will start with the main card. And the first match is in the middleweight division, Mustafa Nada versus Ahmed Sami. Mustafa Ama versus Muhammad Sahi.
This is the main card fight.
Yeah, this is a main card fight. So that's why I just wanted. I didn't know if you were familiar with them.
Unfortunately, I'm not familiar with either of those gentlemen.
Wow, that's impressive that there was somebody that you're not familiar with. But yeah, that is apparently on the main card. It's a middleweight matchup. Let me see what Mustafa is 9-3-0, and Abdel Rahim is 0-2. So that's an interesting fight to make. That they're going there.
All right. Here's my prediction: the guy's 0-2 is gonna lose.
No. I'm sorry. I read it wrong. Mustafa's previous fight, he beat a guy who was 0-2.
Okay.
So that was his previous fight. But he's
Okay,
9-3 overall.
I do not change my prediction.
He is 9-3 overall.
I do not change my prediction.
It doesn't even matter who the other fighter is. Ahmad Sami, who is 11-4. He's 11-4, and he is coming off a loss to one of the champions, Belga. I can't pronounce.
Yeah, he's gonna win.
Okay,
win.
You still think he's gonna win? Okay,
yeah, all right. He's gonna win.
All right. And Dave, I'm sure you probably are not as familiar with either of these fighters, but it's the middleweight division. Ahmad Sami is fighting out of Israel. He is 5-1 in his last 6 fights and 11-4 overall. So he is the one that is going to be starting the show off. So it's going to be interesting to see.
Yes.
Do you have? Would you like to take a gander at who you think would win? 11-4 versus 9-3.
I'll take the 11-4.
Oh, okay. All right. I like it. Tyler, the 11-4 guy is Ahmad Sami, who you do not think will win. You picked Muhammad, who is 9-3. So
who's the guy that beat the 0-2?
Mustafa beat the guy who was 0-2.
Yeah, I picked the opposite guy, the other guy.
Okay, so now you want to go with Ahmad Sami because he's 11-4. Okay,
Yeah, no.
I'll take it. And
right.
this
Steve,
is the other
next fight.
Next fight. Tyler's had enough of this one. The next fight is one that Tyler and I have talked about already, and I believe he has a couple favorites here. Johnny Eblin versus Fabian Edwards, and that's also a middleweight fight. And I believe you liked Johnny Eblin, if I'm not.
You were right. Johnny Eblin.
Right.
Johnny Eblin.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. So
and what he's 15-0. I mean, he's a beast. So what are your thoughts on him?
So Johnny Eblin is former Bellator or maybe still current Bellator middleweight champion. Trains the American top team. He's one of those guys that the old guard Bellator really invested in, kept him around, would give him big money on his contracts, keep him there because he was always a candidate to jump out to the UFC or the PFL back when it was still Bellator, especially the UFC. Just everything I've seen and heard about Johnny Eblin, I'm like listening to Jorge Masvidal and the Joe Rogan Experience talking about Johnny Eblin, saying that, talking about American Top Team, which is the preeminent gym in the United States, mostly
Dan Lambert,
as you know, is the world. Excuse me.
I love Dan Lambert.
I know you do. Hearing Jorge Masvidal, he talks about the room and all the great names in the room. The guy singles out that's Johnny Eblin every single day. That's like what makes me better, etc. Like
now,
Johnny Eblin just runs the table on a who's who every single day at American Top Team. I don't see how this guy's going to lose.
But Fabian Edwards is the brother of Leon Edwards.
Yes, he is.
Who he's in UFC, I believe.
He's an all-time UFC great in the argument for the best welterweight of all time.
Correct.
With that being said, this is his brother.
He's 13-3.
No. Where's his brother in training?
I don't know where his brother's been training.
I believe it's somewhere in England, judging by his act. Here's the thing. I'm shooting for the hip a little. I'm shooting for the hip a little bit because I did it. Okay, I was right.
Yes.
What are they not great at in England?
They don't strike well.
No, they actually strike extremely well. They
wrestling.
They do not wrestle well. So you're telling me the guy who's one of the preeminent guys in the sport is in a room every single day with mother effing Bo Nickel is not gonna just destroy this guy in grappling.
He's 15-0. I agree with you. I do agree with you.
Thank you, Steve. I'm glad you agree with me. Anyone that disagrees with me is wrong. The end.
And Brett Okamoto actually had said that he didn't think this fight should have even been made. He just said the division lacks star power, lacks contenders, and Fabian Edwards should not get this.
Hey,
matchup.
Thanks, Brett. Hey, thank you, Brett. But what do you do in the sport when you're on a giant platform? You make stars. Johnny Eblin.
That's true. Yes.
This guy is, what's his name's brother? Is great
Leon
striker.
Edwards.
Leon's brother, great striker. I'm sure he's a beast, but Johnny Eblin's just a different animal. And when a guy can't wrestle, and you said, I don't know this fight got made. I'll tell you why this fight got made. It's a showcase for Johnny Eblin.
Oh, to make a star maker. I get that. That I do get. Dave,
I'm going with Eblin.
Tyler's breakdown.
Tyler's breakdown was perfect for me.
Yep. He broke it down for you.
I don't need to know anything else.
That's why on our podcast we make stars, and Tyler King is one of them. That's why Tyler King is a draw.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. While we're on here, I'm getting texts from Frank Cristiano, which is making me laugh.
That's amazing. I love that. I love that.
He sent me hilarious text.
Well, Frank loves MMA and used to put all the UFC shows on in his bar.
Yeah. No, I remember that. I remember that. Which one of the podcasts we had, everybody was on. He was talking about it.
He just got frustrated with UFC because he thinks there's just too many names. He can't keep track of them all.
It's hard.
That's very fair. But
he doesn't like that the shows are on at 10 o'clock.
They need content, brother. ESPN needs content.
Yes, and I think the fight game is you have you can't do boxing. I mean, it's become irrelevant because the guys, everybody's looking forward to Pacquiao's one fight a year or Mayweather's one fight a year. Like that was it. Like that's all you had was like one fight a year. Those two guys until they fight. Like their fights each year where it's like, oh, here's June. Great. They're fighting.
Yeah. I think boxing actually did a good job of taking a page from the UFC's book and actually putting talented, charismatic guys with momentum against each other. Like Tank Davis. Who tanked this fight?
I don't know. I have no idea. I was
talking to Dave, Steve.
Oh, okay.
Tank and Gervonta. Gervonta. That fight was huge. They both kind of the old formula in boxing would be keep them away from each other, keep feeding them, just let's keep doing pay-per-views, making money with them. Instead, they put them against each other, had a giant pay-per-view that everyone's still talking about. That was controversial as hell. Good job, boxing. Finally.
Okay, Tyler. So the next fight, I'm not going to come close to pronouncing the name correctly. It is Hussein Kadamiyov, who's 11-1-0.
All right, from Switzerland. Who's he fighting?
And he is fighting Zafar Mossad.
Straight up, I'm not familiar. Skip this one. Go to the names.
Because I think that...
go to the name fighters.
That's on the main card. That's why I went to it. Okay.
Okay, I get it. They're not named fighters. Go to the next
one. All right.
One.
And then the semi-main event is for the women's featherweight world title, which we have talked about a couple times. And it is with another one of Tyler's favorites, Chris Cyborg against Pachenko for the championship. And Cyborg is the reigning champion, and Pachenko is coming in as the challenger for the title. Cyborg left UFC on bad terms. Larissa Pachenko is, she's 23-4. She was 4-0 during the 2023 PFL season. And she has also been the PFL women's featherweight world champion. And in 2022, she was the lightweight world champion. Whereas Cyborg is 27-2-0. And she does have one no contest. And, she's fighting out of Brazil, but she's also 39 years old. What are your thoughts here, Tyler?
So, me being the degenerate I am, started looking at all different gambling platforms for the PFL.
She's had a lot of Botox. I'll give you that.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Dude, I noticed that today too. I was like, oh, I'm like, whoa, dude. Tell me she doesn't look like the puppet from
I don't want to talk poorly about women.
She looks like the puppet from Saw now.
Her face looks.
She looks like the puppet from Saw.
Well,
anyway.
She's a PED user.
Of course she is.
Shocking.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, okay. So Cyborg has looked in her last several fights less than impressive.
Really?
Yeah, level of competition. What she's had the higher level. I'm talking more of her higher profile fights the last 2-3 years.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Like fights for like the Amanda Nunes fight.
Yeah, right. Yes,
And
I will agree with you
even
there.
honestly, even in her PFL fights, her Bellator fights, she hasn't been like a
Yeah.
murderer. She
Yeah.
really hasn't.
Not like she used to be.
Exactly. And honestly, I was telling Steve before we were on air, I was just messing around on the BetMGM app today. I made a parlay like $10 to win like 600 something, 693 actually. Now that I remember. And like I picked Cyborg, and it was like the difference between like a couple $100. I picked Cyborg, whatever. Before we did the podcast, I just went and watched one Pachenko fight because the only one I
Oh,
watched and
that was the one you were talking
I was
about.
just kind of
Yeah.
half watching it was the Kayla Harrison fight. Then I watched a highlight, like just a longer highlight of her, like a compilation of her fights. Like Pachenko's gonna beat the bag out of Cyborg. I feel like.
What really?
Yeah.
Funny you say that.
I like just
Cyborg.
looking at Pachenko's style.
Yes.
And Pachenko is not really as elusive, but neither of them are really elusive or great at slipping or blocking. But
Correct.
holy s, she comes forward, has great range, and throws like just with great power.
She's
And
got a flurry too.
Great flurries. Fundamentally sound as well, and long career, but no PT allegations. No,
correct.
she hasn't really no loss, no bad losses really. Like, and she looked so good recently. I
Yes.
feel like Pachenko's is gonna beat the bag out of Cyborg.
So Tyler,
Yeah.
Pachenko since 2022 has fought 8 fights.
Mm-hmm.
Since 2022, Cyborg has only fought twice. So I'm big on the layoff.
Steve, this right here, what you talked about, like long layoffs, like even harping on, this is where that would come into play.
Yes. Okay. So this is where it would come into play because I know you've talked about the long layoffs where guys are still training heavily.
Not even training heavily, recovering as well.
Right, which is very important.
This is a different thing. Cyborg's been like trying to recover by getting a bunch of plastic surgery and using PEDs. And
you're right. Yeah. You're right. You're 100% right.
I know.
She looks unrecognizable.
Pacheco doesn't use PEDs?
No.
I mean,
Cyborg.
she might. Well, no. Cyborg's very infamous for it. Pachenko
looks like a trained kid.
She kind of is, bro.
Pacheco
she may be.
Pacheco, is she a formerly known as?
Yeah, I don't know about.
No,
I don't know about that. Dave.
No,
I don't know about that one.
Cyborg might be, but like Pacheco's like Pacheco, dude. Have you guys seen that video of the rather? I don't want to say rather big girl, not in a bad way, but like 7-year-old grandmother beat the bag out of a 30 to 40-year-old
I have seen that
in Target.
Yes, that was a message. Yes,
dude, was it good?
Yes.
Good. I'm glad that was a bad. But like Pacheco's that Pacheco will grow up to be that grandma. You know what I'm saying?
And Tyler, you've also said she fights out of Brazil, and the Brazilians are tough as nails, right?
They're tough as nails. We talk. Well, so Cyborg. Cyborg's Brazilian.
Cyborg's Brazilian, but she's 39. She's 39 too.
But they're both out of Brazil.
They're both out of Brazil. I think I agree with you that Cyborg's 39. She's only fought twice since 2022, and she is spending more time on Botox and plastic surgery than maybe training. Dave, if I was going to hire a hit on someone, I would probably hire Pachenko. I think I would go with her.
Valid.
I think
I'm
I'd go
going
with her.
with Larry Pacheco as
Larry-
the. I mean Larissa. I'm sorry, Larissa
Yeah,
Pacheco.
you misspoke. Yes, you misspoke. I agree. Okay, and now the main event. The main event everyone's talking about. Francis Ngannou, his first fight back after 3 years in MMA, world heavyweight title shot against Hernan Ferreira, who's 13-3-0. This is the big one, and this is what they're counting on to draw, numbers for the pay-per-view. Because I don't know that Ngannou was one of the bigger draws in UFC for pay-per-view buys and numbers. Tyler, can you educate me on that?
I don't remember
I
what
don't
the
think he
numbers were
was.
on his fights with Stipe. Like that's what I have to see.
Yeah. Okay.
I would think he's like a solid 300,000 to 550, 600,000 buys.
Not a
And
million
that's still
buys.
good numbers. That's still
Right.
good numbers.
Right.
Like they tried to downplay it, but it's still good numbers. Even if he did like 250, not awful numbers.
17-3-0, nicknamed the Predator, and he's fighting out of Las Vegas. Is he America's top team as well, or no? I
No,
just
he is I believe Extreme Couture.
okay.
Yeah, shit. Yeah,
That's okay. That's okay. Just don't
No,
swear as much. But now let me ask you this.
He is Extreme Couture under Eric.
Okay.
Don't remember his last name, but yeah, he's Extreme Couture.
Do you think Ferreira being 6'8", having that height difference is going to play a big part in this fight? No.
Go watch, for instance. Okay.
Well, you're right. Tyson Fury was
watch.
All right.
Go watch. Listen. Go watch Francis fight versus Alistair Overeem. Go watch Francis fight versus Jamir Rosenstrike, and then tell me if you think a little extra height is going to help this guy. I think if Francis gets inside, if Francis slips over this guy's jab, gets inside, lands some big power shots, early night.
Now, what do you know about Ferreira? Has he always been like a Bellator PFL guy? Because he only has 16 fights total and 3 no contests.
He's made his bones in the PFL. Okay. Has he won one tournament or two?
It looks like he has won one. Let me double
Still
check
impressive
that.
feat winning that tournament.
Yeah,
I mean, again,
I agree with you.
It's okay, but here's the thing. Remember what I said before? Talent level he's fought. Francis has been knocking out the best dudes in the world for at least 5 years. I mean,
okay, yeah, he was the 2023
and Anthony Joshua.
Hennon hasn't fought the kind of guys Francis has fought. So
correct.
I mean,
he was the 2023 PFL heavyweight champion. 12 stoppages, 11 knockouts.
Impressive.
And he's the tallest fighter.
Steve,
and he was
the biggest? What is the biggest name he's beaten?
The big, I couldn't tell you.
Exactly.
Bader, he beat. Goldslav, he beat. Green, he beat. There's nobody that really stands out. Yeah.
I mean, I know Maurice Green. I fought Maurice. I mean, I've sparred with Maurice Green.
Right.
He is a
Well,
problem.
isn't Bader a name?
No, he's also super tall. He's tricky, but he ain't Francis.
Well, Bader's a name too, isn't it?
He beat well. Bader's a name. Bader's also way smaller.
Okay. Okay. He's
And
much
long
smaller.
career in the UFC. Fought the majority of his
Oh
career
wow.
at
Jesus.
205.
Yeah.
He fought the majority of his career at 205. Like he
31-8.
Francis, excuse me, Bader. He became the heavyweight champion at Bellator
Yes.
because he was just so much more talented. The drug testing was a little more lax, and
Right.
like he was able to outclass some of these guys.
So
And Bader finally met a guy, and like he's on the wrong side of 30 as well. So long career, a lot of damage. So in Hennon,
yeah.
he's a giant. He hits like a Mack truck. He has extremely good range. So it was a bad fight for Ryan Bader. National
So
pride.
your prediction for this fight,
Oh, Francis is gonna knock him out.
Ngannou,
I think Francis will knock him out.
and
I'm
and
pretty
what
confident
round?
that. First, second, probably the first.
Dave, I know you're not.
I love his analysis.
Dave, you are such a prick, Dave. You just keep going with Tyler. You're gassing up Tyler's ego.
I love gassing up Tyler. He's the man. Listen, I have a question.
Yeah.
Because you're a tall guy, you were a tall fighter.
He's 6'6". Yep, that's true.
Yeah. Is there a point where you're almost too tall in fighting, where a guy can, or is it an advantage? I'm curious. I without really knowing what's
that was a good question. Yeah. That's all dependent on if the taller fighter knows how to use his range effectively.
I got
so
you.
Like one of my best fights, I'm fighting another guy. He's like 6'3", giant. And I'm getting inside, he clipped me once. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit down on this jab. And I kind of timed it. So when he jolted forward, I just like sat down hard and like powerful jab right down the middle, dropped him. That kind of changed the complexion of the fight. He was a giant dude. I was markedly taller. I just used my range, and once he was afraid of that, I just beat him up with leg kicks. So,
it's a strategy.
If a guy can use his range effectively, no. But a lot of these guys with boxing, kickboxing, don't know how to use that range effectively. And Hennon, while he is a good striker, he's powerful as all hell. He's not a great boxer. So I think if Francis is a pretty good effing boxer, and once Francis gets inside and land those big power shots, it's gonna be a bad night for him.
Interesting. That's really interesting. Yeah, because I thought with like because in MMA wrestling can be become a factor.
Yeah.
Right. So if
exactly.
Although I guess height in wrestling, depending on someone's strength or their body weight, is an advantage too. So,
but like take in mind, is the guy got good? Like, does he have a good I'm trying to think of the
balance, flexibility.
No. I'm trying to think. Does he have a good entry step? Do you understand range well? Can he get inside on you? Like that's the thing you have to think about wrestling. That lead foot, getting that entry step and getting in. But the thing about MMA is if you got that good jab, boom, boom. Like if I can keep a guy at the end of my jab, he can't get that entry step, then I'm pretty much in business. Like I'll kind of negate that wrestling. Francis knows boxing so well at this point. Like when Henn throws a jab, Francis gets inside, comes over the top, or if Francis wants to wrestle, he can just grab his leg, lift, turn the corner. It's all about the entry step. You know what I'm saying?
You think he can take down a 6'8" dude with that size?
Oh yeah,
he'll be quicker, right?
Okay.
I don't think Francis is gonna try to take him down. I think Francis, if he gets inside, you're gonna see big overhand rights, big uppercuts.
I agree. And I'm picking the other guy to win, just so you know, Tyler. I'm going with the 6'8"
So
guy.
you don't like money. Good.
Going
good
with the
to know.
6'8"
Good
guy.
to know.
I'm going with
Good to
the 6'8" guy who has fought more, and
Big Tree's gonna fall hard.
No, I'm going with him.
No, Big Tree will fall hard.
Yeah.
Big Tree will fall hard.
Tyler's going with Francis. I don't like the 3-year layoff of MMA, and
Steve, like we can bet on this too. Like I will gladly gamble with you on this one.
All right, I'll do this. I'll do $100 with you on it. $100.
Done.
Okay.
Done. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
Done.
So I may
Steve,
be owing.
you're gonna lose. Now you're losing.
I'm going to use $200.
So now you're gonna lose in the UConn prediction ring, right? I think.
Yes.
And that you're gonna lose here. You know.
Yeah.
When saving money, not
whenever Rennell Jump's payment comes through, it's going to be going to you and Tyler
in the mail.
So, yeah.
He said the check. He said the checks, the bank transfers is in process. So all that money, yeah, I'll be paying it out. So Tyler, the last thing I'll ask you is Crown Sports and Entertainment. Louise, is he fighting this weekend?
No, he's fighting next month, about a month from now.
Okay,
I think
so
it's November 14th. He's fighting Ryan DiSabatino out of South Shore Sport Fighting, a Cage Titans staple. Great fight. Glad we were able to get a quick turnaround. Hopefully we can parlay this fight. I've actually a couple other things on the burner. Hopefully he wins this fight in dominant fashion. Hey, I'd love a PFL berth off this, but might need another win. We'll see what happens.
What about Ozzy? Anything in the works with Ozzy?
Most likely, Ozzy will be making his return in January.
Okay, good to hear. And make sure to present the my little proposal to Cage Titans. We'd love to have them as a sponsor because we have Steve Darby, 42nd Brew Co. as a sponsor, and they have a variety of pilsners, IPAs, and lagers. A wonderful tasting room. If you're looking for something to do, go down to Kingston, Massachusetts, 42nd Brew Co. Support them. So that has been just another stellar MMA show. Tyler, you are just one of a kind and on fire. David, I will see you 9:30 in the morning. Is it a phone call or a Zoom? Do you know for sure?
I didn't get anything, so
I'll double check with John. No, it's fine. I'll double check with John just to make sure. Because if it's a call, I'll just call him then. I'll let you know. I'll send him a text, and then so we're good to go. Thank you for being with us. And then tomorrow, Dave, I got James Hargrave to be on Husky Huddle. James played with the Detroit Lions for several years, so that'll be interesting to have him.
Tell James I said hello. I said hello.
And Tyler, like I said, Matt Newsy said hello to you on Laban Marsh's show, Broker Than You. He said that he loved your pregame speeches, although you terrified him, but they were inspiring, and you with your face paint giving pregame speeches would fire up everyone. Yes. Yeah, so he said that said that on Laban's show. So you're getting a nice call out there.
I appreciate it.
You should be happy.
Do you tell him I said hi too?
I did not yet, but I will.
Okay.
I will tell him that. Steve. I will tell you that you were thinking of him, and you will be there. Hopefully, the 27th when.
Oh no, I'll be there.
You're the defensive MVP.
You told me it was last week,
I did not tell you it was last week.
You just wanted me to hang out, which
I did.
I love
just
that.
invited you to hang
I
out.
I love you for that, Steve.
I did not tell you that you were being honored that week. I did not. That never came out of my mouth. I just said I'm going up. I invited you to the game. So
that's great. Wait, so you're being honored in a couple weeks?
The Motor City
Bowl. They are honoring the.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, they're honoring the 2004 Motor City Bowl team.
Yeah. So I'm hoping Dave gets eliminated from the playoffs.
I figured you were going to say that.
Let me ask you this. All right. Will Orlovsky? All right. I have two questions.
Thunder Dan?
Well, no. Okay, no. It's a you kind of question. So I want Dave's. It's what, 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, it's the 27th.
Okay. Will the Motor City MVP show up?
Thunder Dan, if I don't think they're going to meet his appearance fee, so I'm not sure.
Will they show up?
Okay, so no. Okay, that answered my question.
I honestly, I do think he will go. Yes.
Who reaches out to him, Andy or?
It would be Coach B. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
who
has Dan Orlovsky's secret phone number?
Listen, I've been trying to get alumni contacts from Coach B. He's got them locked away, and he said he's not allowed to give them out. So, and Mike Burton can't get them either. So, who knows? But this has been another.
So they should probably give me Coach Burton's job.
Well, yeah, Tyler, you can run the whole alumni foundation. You can be in charge of alumni engagement.
Probably be the right idea.
I agree. You have everyone set with jobs and get them all in the NFL. So for our guest, Coach Schuman, his first appearance on Husky Talk MMA.
Second appearance.
Second. I don't think it's your second appearance, but
I don't think
MMA?
so either.
MMA Talk, my second appearance.
It is your second? Okay.
Is it?
Second appearance. I don't know if we'll get him for a third. We'll try.
Probably will.
Tyler has been on Husky Huddle twice. We'll definitely have him again. But for Coach Schuman and Tyler King, all he does, he trains, he teaches class, and he beats ass. That's what he does. Tyler, the Marauder King of Crown Sports and Entertainment. I said it right correctly. And this has been on 97.9 Unity Radio. Ernie, I know you love us.
Thank you, Ernie.
And I am Steve Cully, the best podcast host in the universe. Remember, when life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Take 2 oranges.